This is my instant post-match reaction to the Everton 3, Tottenham Hotspur 2 Premier League game. And, well, don't let that second half fool you. Tottenham won, I guess, if you can say the word won, that second half, 2-0 because we were 3-0 down at half-time. And I'm happy to say that that first half is one of the worst performances I've ever seen a Tottenham Hotspur team put in, certainly in the last 20 years. Absolutely shameful. And I'm going to stick to what I was saying at halftime. I have to. I think Ange is gone. I do. And I think he has to go. I've supported Ange. I like Ange. I think his man management is good. He's got the right ideas. But I do not think that his style of football, no matter what you say about the injuries, no matter what you say anything, I do not think it is sustainable in the Premier League. And I think one of his big problems based on today is he actually changed the formation today. So for the first time, when Solanke suddenly is out and Bissouma and Johnson are out to add to all the other injuries, he's like, well, we've got to change the formation then. And honestly, the players just looked all at sea. They had no idea. They'd clearly not been coached in the formation since Antonio Conte was manager of Spurs, playing that kind of 3-5-2, 5-3-2. They didn't have a clue. We were bypassed in midfield, and we made an Everton team who are one of the worst teams in the division, and are now, I see on the table, only 4 points behind us. They're 16th, we're 15th. They're only 4 points behind us. We made them look like an attacking threat, like a force. A David Moyes Everton side, who I think hadn't scored in 5 of their last 7 games, hadn't scored 2 goals from open play in a single game in the Premier League this season, and we conceded 3 against them in the first half. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stick with it. For the first time, I'm going to say we are going to be in a relegation battle if we continue to stick with Ange Postecoglou when no matter who is on the pitch, we do not stop crosses at source and we do not mark our back post. And how many times have I said that this season? How many times have I said it since Ange has been in charge? We concede too many goals in too many obvious ways, and any manager who comes up against us will just say to their players, cross it in, get it to the back post, and also get in their faces a bit. Foul them, get in their faces, press them, make it hard. And lots of people, of course, and I've been saying it too, so, I understand why you're saying it, but lots of people are saying, you have to wait till February. I've been saying it. Wait till February when we get our players back. What makes you think in any way that when February comes, either our players will be able to come back, or when they do, and by players I'm talking about, Vicario, I'm talking about Romero, Van de Ven. What makes you think that they'll stay fit, or when they come back, more players won't get injured, just like Solanke got injured yesterday? I've said it on the watch along today. What is he doing letting Solanke train when he's had a game on Wednesday night and he's playing on Sunday, training the day before the game? Don't risk it. He is the player we could not afford to lose. Before Vicario got injured, I said that, and we were all saying, all the people I respect on the podcast were saying, the one player we cannot afford to lose is Vicario. We get him injured. That was unlucky. Now, since then, the one player we cannot afford to lose is Solanke. Wrap him in cotton wool, play him in the games, and just let him recover between the games. But now he's out, and some rumors say he's out for 6 weeks. We are fucked, guys. We are absolutely fucked. And I'm sorry, Ange, I like you, and I've been sticking up for you the whole season and all last season. I like you, but if you do not get the players on the pitch because of injuries, and if you've got more hamstring injuries than any club has had in the history of the Premier League, then I'm sorry, you are answerable for that. And I feel sorry for you that you're not able to get your first 11 on the pitch, but you are answerable to it because there's something going on in the training as well as in the matches, and the relentlessness of it, and the fact that they're not allowed to stop. And I'm using words that like relentless that he has used himself in interviews, Ange, where he says, this is how we are, mate. It's relentless. You don't stop, and you try and out-tire the other team or out-energy them. Well, they can't, because their muscles get fatigued and they're not allowed to recover in time, either on the pitch or on the training pitch or between games, and they get injured. I'm sorry, it cannot be coincidence. People telling me it's not Ange's fault. It cannot be coincidence. It's more injuries than we've ever had. Now, on top of that, people also saying Iraola's got a lot of injuries at Bournemouth. And he has. He's got 8 injuries. And I'll be honest, I don't know the makeup of those injuries. Are they as many? I doubt it's, 3 of the back 4. And I doubt it's like so many players who have been genuine first team players. Maybe there's a few more squad players. But yeah, I agree. Iraola's doing an incredible job. And there is no excuse for Tottenham being miles behind Nottingham Forest and miles behind Bournemouth and Brighton, who at least have been doing it for a few years now. But there's no excuse to it. There's no excuse anymore. I'm sorry. And I like him and I wish it worked for him. I really do. And do I have an answer? No, I don't. And I understand all of you saying, oh, it'll just be the board sacking another one. Yeah, but we've never been in 15th. We've never been in 15th, just in front of 16th. Never. So look, that first half performance, and frankly, most of the performance, don't let the 2 goals in the second half pull the wool over your eyes. That performance was like watching Spurs under Tim Sherwood. It really was, where they didn't have a clue. The players didn't give a shit. And Sherwood came out doing embarrassing stuff like the gilet bollocks. And maybe Ange will be seen in hindsight as the player who blooded the likes of Archie Gray and the likes of Lucas Bergwall, like Sherwood is looked upon as the player who blooded Harry Kane. But it's not working. It is not working. And next we have Leicester, who've lost, 7 games in a row? They might beat us too. And between that, we've got a Europa League game. And listen, if we continue like this, we will get knocked out of the Carabao Cup in the second leg. I think with Solanke not playing, we've got no chance at Anfield anyway. I thought we were going to win that. I genuinely thought we were going to get to the final. But if we cannot hold the ball up in the final third in the second leg at Anfield, we have 0 chance whatsoever. We will lose to Aston Villa in the FA Cup, and we will get knocked out in the playoff round of the Europa League. I'm sorry, but injuries or no injuries, the way the team played today, they were not playing for Ange, and that's the first time I've seen it. And they're showing the Spurs players now in front of the crowd, and Sonny looks upset. They weren't playing for him. James Maddison, I'm sorry, he was barely on the park today. I made a note in something like the 85th minute, because Pedro Porro had a touch in the second half. I was like, oh, I didn't even realise he was still on the pitch. There were players who were invisible. There were players who were jogging about. And I've watched Manchester United for the past 5, 6, 7 seasons when their teams have stopped playing for their managers and they just jog about and they're invisible. And that was Maddison. And Maddison today, suddenly when we got our first goal back with like 15 minutes to go, Deki Kulusevski with an unbelievable finish, suddenly Maddison got interested again, started taking the ball off his back 4. He wasn't doing it. He didn't care. And listen, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but James Maddison, I think, the way I see it, is angry that Postecoglou doesn't believe in him enough, that he substituted him in every single game this season so far before this game. And he just said to him, well, today you've picked me because Bissouma is out and we've got so many injuries, so I'm going to throw in a 3 out of 10 performance and say, fuck you. And I think Postecoglou knew that that's what's happening. And so when James Maddison should have been taken off at half-time for Mikey Moore, he said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let you have this stinker for the entire 90 minutes. I'm going to make it the first game I pick you for the entire game this whole season in the Premier League, and you can have that stinker in front of everybody. It was embarrassing, guys. They didn't care. They didn't care. And there's no point. I always make notes what happens in every minute so I can do the post-match review. There's no point because we did nothing. We did nothing. The only thing that was good was Kulusevski's finish for the first goal. Piece of art. He's too good for us at the moment. And then Mikey Moore's assist for the Richarlison goal right at the end. Beautiful cross. And maybe, like I said, maybe Ange will be seen as the manager that blooded Mikey Moore. And that's where we'll be. But I'm telling you now, something has to change. It's the first time. And I feel for Ange. I love Ange. Good guy. But I blame him for us not getting the players on the pitch. And I've talked about it during the watch-along. I'll say it again. It reminds me of when Marcelo Bielsa was manager of Leeds. They were brilliant to watch. I was watching Leeds and I was like, I'd like Bielsa as manager of Spurs. But it was unsustainable in the Premier League. The standard is too high. Everybody you play against is too smart. They're the best of the best. Even when you're playing players like Everton, they're the best of the kind of players that Everton can get. And I'm sorry, but they are too good for teams like Celtic or teams in the Japanese J-League or in the Australian League. I'm sorry, guys. It's just the quality is too good. So to try and be relentless and keep everything 100 miles an hour for 90 minutes gets you injured, both in training, both in games. And so Ange cannot get his players on the pitch. And we have the makings of a good squad, 14 or 15 really good players, but we have to be smarter. and we have to take our recovery when we can get it, and we have to be ruthless and clinical when we get chances, and we have to be able to defend the crosses and at the back post. Kinski made 4 or 5 really good saves today. He's raw, and he'll kick it every so often to the opposition. He did it today because he's being asked to play that kind of game, and he's a modern goalkeeper. But it's not going to work with Ange, and I'm sorry. And I know there's a lot of people in Australia who want it to work so badly, and I want it to work so badly too, but it's not. And Levy was there, Donna Cullen was there, Scott Munn was there. They got off the bus before the game. There were social media clips, and I think they have to sack him tonight. I'm sorry to say it. I'm sorry. I really like him, and I don't have an answer as to who comes in. And I know so many people hate Ryan Mason because he's a club man, but when he's come in, I don't get that hateful thing. I'm not saying I want him to be the interim manager or whatever. I'm not, but I don't think he's ever done anything wrong. I don't get that, but whatever. It's a different thing. You know, everyone is allowed to have their own opinion and whatever, but I think it has to change. And I hope that for the last month, and I think from that rumor that came out that Terzic, Terzic, the manager, Edin Terzic, the former Dortmund manager, he was offered a job in Turkey, and his agent came out and said, actually, we're waiting for an offer from Spurs. So I think that succession planning has been going on, and I think they now have to pull the trigger and something has to change. And I don't have the answer for what it is. It's difficult. I didn't want the change to happen either, but we cannot go on like that anymore. And I'm trying to be as considered as I can. I'm wound up, and anybody who watched that first half would be wound up. But don't let the second half and what happened pull the wool over your eyes, because it was embarrassing. It's a group of players who are no longer playing for the manager. And yes, he's had injuries, but I blame him for some of those injuries because of the amount of muscle injuries and the way that he clearly gets the drills going and the way that we're asked to train. So it has to change. For me, it has to change tonight. And I hope that succession planning has been clever and they've got something. And I don't know what it is. For me, you go to Bournemouth and you go, we'll give you 20 million for that manager of yours. It's a risk, but the amount of money that Levy has had to pay on paying off managers that he sacked before, that's 20 million is a drop in the ocean. If you really believe that Iraola is the right man, and I think he could be the right man in terms of the next Pochettino, and the kind of man who does the right things, is a man manager as well as a tactical manager, as well as a man manager. I said man manager twice, but able to get the players believing in him. If you're Scott Munn and you go to Daniel Levy, you say, I believe he's the right guy. You go to Bournemouth and say £20 million. And hopefully you can persuade him out in the middle of the season, like Ruben Amorim was persuaded out from Sporting Lisbon. I don't know, guys. I do not know. I'm at the end of my tether on this one, as you can tell. I feel sorry for Ange. I do. But we're in an opportunity situation here where, yes, we are still in those cup competitions and we'll have players coming back. And now it's shown me that Ange has not got those players who are currently available playing for him anymore. He's lost James Maddison, one of our most technical players. We need to bring in a man who will get them back on board. And when those players come back at the beginning of February, the Van der Vens, the Romeros, the Vicarios, and more, not Mikey Moore, and more players, we need a man who is going to mark the back post from across and stop the crosses coming in. And sure, I want us to remain playing attacking football. I want a manager who's going to play good football, not defensive, pragmatic football. But there is a middle ground. There is a compromise. And currently this manager is not compromising, and he's not doing the basics. We're conceding the same goal too many times, over and over and over and over again. And this was the first game against a team like Everton who don't score goals, against a manager like David Moyes, where even before the game I thought, well, the best they can do is beat us 1-0, and maybe they will beat us 1-0. They were 3-0 up at half-time. And lots of you will fight against me on this, and please do get in the comments and tell me how you feel and fight against me. Tell me your authentic, organic, original thoughts on why Ange Postecoglou should remain as manager. But do take into account what I'm saying about those injuries and how he has to have a part to play when it comes to those injuries. And I don't know why I haven't heard a journalist in the press conferences with him say to him, do you take any responsibility for those injuries, Ange? Do your training methods have anything to do with all those muscular injuries? Because it's not just been this season. It's been since that Chelsea game, the 4-1, where we started getting all the injuries after our great start last season. And everyone talks about how at Celtic they got a lot of muscular injuries. So the evidence is there. And therefore, we have to make a change. And I think we have to make it tonight or in the morning. And I'm sorry about it. I am. But let me know in the comments if you agree, guys. I'm sorry to be negative, but it's done. I'm sorry it's done. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Please do give this video a like, guys, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot.